Let's talk about the fantasy football playoff strength of schedule to help you win a championship. What's up, guys? Zach Brunner here from Flurry Sports, and today we're talking about the fantasy football playoff strength of schedule heading into Week 12, more specifically for the running back position. For many, this is the trade deadline for your fantasy league, so a lot of moves are going to be made this week. If you're feeling good about your team and you're locked for the playoffs, now is the time to look ahead and make sure you do not get screwed by playoff matchups. How many times have you dominated the regular season, you get to the fantasy playoffs, and then you get upset right away? You have a stinker, you have a letdown performance. This is a good way to at least lessen the chance of that happening. All this data can be found in the link in the description. You can become a member for $5 per month to get this and all other kinds of data like my opportunity index and stuff like that. This is updated weekly. So this is before week 12. This will be updated before next week, the week after, all the way up until the fantasy playoffs. I'm here to help you win a championship. If you want other strength of schedule videos for other positions, definitely like this video, subscribe, and comment down below. If you have any other questions, by the way, drop those down below. I also have an announcement at the end, so if you watch until the end of the video, I would be eternally thankful. But let's just jump into the fantasy football playoff strength of schedule. For clarity, these are weeks 15 through 17. We're not doing that week 18 bull crap, and we're not starting in week 14. So week 15, 16, and 17. Let's jump into it. Okay, guys, when you get the fantasy playoff strength of schedule data in the Buy Me a Coffee link, you'll get access to this spreadsheet. Obviously, green and low numbers means good, as in it's a good matchup for them. High numbers, red, green means good, red means bad. You get it. Let's sort this by running backs today. We'll talk about the best two, the worst two. Number one, though, the easiest fantasy playoff strength of schedule is for the Philadelphia Eagles and Saquon Barkley. So even though there's a struggle to start the season, offensive line play and health-wise, the Philadelphia Eagles have struggled a little bit and has really hurt their entire offense. They are still a little bit banged up. Obviously, Lane Johnson probably missing the rest of the regular season, most likely, but they do have the best schedule to end the year, and I absolutely love buying all Eagles right now, whether it be Jalen Hurts. We just did a quarterback video, so go check that out. But Saquon, I even like A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert's fine. You can see their schedule. I mean, this is a beautiful schedule. Looking at it specifically, let's find Saquon here. Also in the spreadsheet, we got it here, so just click over. I got the whole schedule for you, but looking at Saquon's schedule from now until the playoffs, our data is for 15, 16, 17. The Raiders is first week. While the Raiders are good against the run, they are bad against pretty much everything else. The Eagles will be able to move the ball and score. So just the fact that they'll be in the red zone quite a bit, they'll be in scoring range quite a bit. Good chance Saquon probably falls into the end zone. Saquon may not have the most efficient day, but if he finishes in the end zone, good to go. But then we have the Commanders in week 16 and week 17. They got a Bills defense that can't stop a nosebleed right now. And on the way there, I mean, they got Dallas this week, Chicago the week after. Chargers are the one you're most scared of, but even still, like, I'm not that afraid of the Chargers. You can move the ball against them, run against them. Good to go. So Saquon is a really good player to own. And if you have Saquon, like, I want to be owning Tank Bigsby right now. We saw what Tank Bigsby could do with a little bit of extra run with the Philadelphia Eagles, and he's looked really good when given limited snaps here. If something was to happen to Saquon and he's out, Tank Bigsby is the one that's going to be the majority ball carrier in this offense. He is a running back 2 with upside for sure. It's not going to be A.J. Dillon. He's still not really going to be involved. And then they got Will Shipley, who will do some receiving stuff. But Tank Bigsby is going to be the most valuable running back there. So instead of having like a running back 5, even 4 really, of like a Chris Rodriguez or something like that, like I want to be locking up the Philadelphia Eagles backfield. Just in general, I like that strategy with your top guys. But given this strength of schedule here for the Philadelphia Eagles, you got to do it. And number 2, and by the way, we're not going to talk much about it, but number 3 is the Ravens. I love Derrick Henry when, it gets cold. The snow is falling. It's really terrible. It's shitty to tackle Derrick Henry anytime, but especially when it's cold out. So he always gets better at the end of the year anyways. With a great schedule, definitely go buy Derrick Henry. But we're talking about the number 2 fantasy football playoff strength of schedule goes to the Arizona Cardinals. I've been talking about Trey Benson for a month now. He is not coming back this week. He'll be back next week. This Cardinals backfield is beat up and bad. Mercado is not playing this week now. And then we got Bam Knight and Michael Carter, who have done nothing really to impress, in my opinion. And not only that, there's nobody who's really locked into a role. Mercado is kind of the receiving back and stuff like that, but like no one's thrived when locked into a role. So when Trey Benson comes back, he's the most talented player in the backfield, and he is going to be given the freedom to grow and earn whatever role he can get, really. And if he's good enough, which I think he is, he could become an every down type of player because he's a good runner. He's a good receiver. Let's take a look and see how owned he is, and we'll take a look at his schedule. But I'm not rushing to pick up any other Cardinals running back. If you have them, fine. And I don't need to handcuff Trey Benson either, but he's owned in 56.7% of ESPN fantasy leagues. Obviously, we talked about Derrick Henry and Saquon so far. You can't go pick those guys up. You can pick up Tank Bigsby. But this is a guy, Trey Benson, you may not even need to trade for him. You can just pick him up and go. So week 15 through 17, first he has Houston, which is they're impossible to pass against, so they have to run, and you can certainly run against them. Week 16, you have the Falcons, who have given up some pretty darn big weeks as well. Overall, 10 games, they've given up over 1,100 yards on the ground, 7 touchdowns, 348 yards through the air, and another 4 touchdowns, all to the running back position. And then the Fantasy Football Championship week. If Trey Benson's back, has a month plus to really earn a bigger role, and it culminates in the Fantasy Football Championship where he's an every down player against the Cincinnati Bengals, that is a recipe for success to win a championship. I would love that. That's the goal, right? You know, the Bengals can't do anything. Talking about the Bills can't stop a nosebleed. The Bengals are as bad as you could possibly be. So the second worst fantasy defense to running backs are the Giants. The Bengals give up over 8 points in PPR leagues more than that defense. So you take the worst defense you could think of, essentially, and then you give them another touchdown, and that's who the Cincinnati Bengals are. They're terrible. Through 10 games, they've given up almost 1,400 rushing yards to running backs, 9 touchdowns, 485 receiving yards, and another 6 touchdowns. They are absolutely horrendous, and if Trey Benson can come back and earn a big role, I love it. Obviously, look at what he's done so far. I mean, he's involved in the receiving game, and he's an efficient runner. So like I said, no one's locked into a role. I think he can come back and be pretty darn efficient. Sounds like he'll probably be back next week, so it'll be against Tampa. Not the greatest matchup, but I'm not terrified, right? Tampa, Rams, maybe 2 games where the Cardinals are chasing points and Trey Benson can pick up, another 3, 4, 5 catches. I love that. So I'd be looking to go and pick up Trey Benson if it's possible for you. Let's turn this upside down, though. Let's talk about the worst fantasy football playoff strength of schedule for running backs. And I mean, we just talked about quarterbacks in the previous video. I said I would be looking to sell Josh Allen, to be completely honest. I've been trying to sell him in every league. I had him for a few weeks now, been successful in some. But we're talking about James Cook right now, running back. You don't need to own any of the handcuffs there. But James Cook's been tremendous this season. I'm not saying you have to sell him. I'm not saying he's a must sell. But I'm saying I think he's going to underperform during those playoff weeks for you. The week before the playoffs is the Cincinnati Bengals, so he's going to go bananas there. That's great. Great. Fantastic. Then he has to go to New England, to Cleveland, and then he's home against the Eagles. I hate all of those matchups. That is not good. There is no good news there. The Patriots are the second best defense against fantasy running backs. You can see what he did earlier in the year, 15 carries for 49 yards, not even a catch, and an inefficient running day, no touchdown. Cleveland, I mean, their front seven's legit. We saw what the offensive line just did against Houston. Now, imagine Myles Garrett going after Josh Allen. I mean, this offense could really struggle in that game. And then Philadelphia just keeps getting better and better as the week goes on. As the season goes on, they added players to their defensive front as well. So the Eagles, especially in the second last week of the season, maybe they can wrap up a number 1 seed in the NFC, and then they could rest for the Jets there. I mean, Eagles have a lot to play for, and I do not really want to be starting James Cook in those weeks against them. The second toughest fantasy football playoff strength of schedule goes to the Detroit Lions. Obviously, Lions have a couple good running backs, Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery. Now, again, Gibbs is not somebody I'm really looking to trade away. He's not really looking, and you're certainly not dropping him. If I have Gibbs, I'm probably trying to keep him unless I can trade him for, Saquon Barkley and something else. That's a trade that intrigues me. Maybe I trade Gibbs for Derrick Henry and an upgrade at wide receiver. I go Gibbs and a shitty wide receiver for an upgrade at wide receiver and Derrick Henry. That intrigues me. But otherwise, you're keeping Jahmyr Gibbs. The issue is he just may underperform in those playoff weeks, which could sink you. That sucks. In the playoff weeks, so 15, 16, 17, he goes to the Rams. He's home against the Steelers, and then he goes to the Vikings. All of those defenses are very good. Rams are third best against running backs in particular. Steelers obviously are continuing to get better and better as they simplify their defense, move Jalen Ramsey back to safety, stuff like that. And then the Vikings, man, you can see what he did against the Vikings last time. 9 carries for 25, 3 catches for 3 yards. They're a fast defense, an extremely well-coached defense. They fly around. I expect a better day than this, but I don't know if it's going to be a great day. So if you can trade away Jahmyr Gibbs with a matchup against the Giants here, they have a Cowboys matchup ahead. Good things are ahead for Jahmyr Gibbs. Unfortunately, it just may not be during the fantasy playoffs, which is the only time that matters for us because we're hunting championships, not regular season championships. Now, the person I am looking to potentially trade away even harder is David Montgomery, because I think David Montgomery is more affected by those matchups, the traditional tough to run against matchups versus just tough running back matchups, because Jahmyr Gibbs can catch some passes. He can split out at wide receiver and get some points that way. David Montgomery needs to be the hammer in between the tackles, and I think these matchups are tougher for him. What I would do is there a news note here? Doesn't look like it, but Dan Campbell this week came out and said that he wants to get David Montgomery more touches, get him more involved. And I would use that as leverage, as a little bump to say, David Montgomery is certainly going to be more involved in the future and try to trade him, maybe inflate his value a little bit. Again, matchup against the Giants and the Cowboys both look very, very good. He's also a Packers killer. He absolutely destroys the Packers historically. Obviously, week 1 wasn't outstanding, but you can point to his historical success against the Green Bay Packers. I would be really selling those 3 weeks in order to get myself out of those 3 weeks, if that makes sense. But if you have any questions about this, the fantasy data, anything like that, definitely ask in the comments below. I'm going to be here, all the way up until kickoff. Let's win a championship and let's get week 12 rolling here. So that's the fantasy data we're going over today, but there is that big announcement. Thank you for hanging around till the end. We are nominated for a couple of awards. There's these local awards here in Wisconsin called the Volume 1 Best of Awards, and we really need your help to win. We're nominated for the best podcast and the best local news writer, me. All you need is an email to sign up and vote. They're not going to spam you. It's completely free. And if you have multiple emails, if you want to make more emails, all of that is extra votes to help us win. Please take a couple seconds and vote and help us win, because if we do win, there's this big award show. I get to give a nice speech, and I will record that and put that right on this channel for you guys. You guys get to pick whatever you want me to say. I promise I will say it. Link in the description below to go to volume1.org. You can vote for best podcast and best local news writer. For podcast, we got 2. We got the Flurry Sports Podcast and Lombardi Sweep. And under the best local news writer, that is Zach Brunner, myself. You just listened to me for a few minutes here, and I hope you come back and listen to me a little bit more, talk about more fantasy football and more good stuff. The soon-to-be award-winning YouTube channel. I'll see you guys next time. Thanks for hanging out. Goodbye. Fuck yeah!